Hello and welcome to Cooking with Miss Michelle. Today I'm going to show you how to make spaghetti egg nests. They're very cute and fun to make. So for this project you're going to need some spaghetti or other thin style pasta, and you can use regular or gluten-free. Olive oil for drizzling over the pasta, some salt, and we're going to make these in a muffin tin. So you'll need either butter to grease the sides or nonstick cooking spray. 2 tablespoons of whole milk. If you don't have whole milk, you can use half and half or cream. An egg, some little balls of mozzarella for the eggs in the nests, and about a cup of Parmesan cheese, about 2 cups of spaghetti sauce, and some spinach. So we're gonna start by boiling about half of the box of spaghetti. And you can just follow your package directions for how long it says to cook al dente. Mine says 10 minutes, so I'm gonna boil this for 10 minutes. You might notice my noodles are a little bit too long for my pan, so after just a second, the end that's in the water should get soft, and I can fold them so they go in nice and easily. You can also break them in half so they fit in nicely. Okay, so I'm going to set my timer for 10 minutes. And I want to stir these occasionally so they don't stick together in the pan. I am also going to preheat my oven to 375. Okay, so while I wait for my noodles to boil, I can prepare my other stuff. So I'm going to make the sauce to pour over the noodles when they come out. So I'm going to use my milk, and I'm going to crack the egg. So you can do this into a small bowl if you're worried about getting any shell in there. You can just hit the bottom of the bowl with the eggshell and then split it in half, and then you can inspect it for any shell pieces, and if you don't see any, go ahead and pour that in. And then I'm going to use a whisk or a fork to mix that together. Then I'm going to add a half a teaspoon of salt. I've got a little bit too much in there. And 3/4 of a cup of Parmesan. So if you're not a big dairy eater, I have seen recipes where you can just put the noodles in the pan and cook them without adding all this dairy to it. I have not personally tried it, but it looks like from the recipes you can do it. It might just not stick together quite as well. Okay, so I'm just going to set that to the side and wait for my spaghetti. In the meantime, I'm going to prepare my muffin tins. So I just want to make sure to spray the edges of these really well and the bottom so nothing sticks. And I always like to do this over the sink so I don't spray it all over my counter. Okay, so it looks like I have about 7 minutes left of my spaghetti to boil, and then I can do the rest. so my pasta is done cooking, so I'm just gonna turn the stove off and carefully drain this over the sink. So my pan actually has a lid with holes in it, so I don't have to use a strainer. But just be really careful when you strain it because it's very hot. Okay, so once I have all the water out, I'm going to transfer it to this large bowl. And I'm going to toss about 2 cups of spinach in with my pasta. And the pasta should be hot enough to just wilt the spinach a little bit. One thing I didn't mention, if you're using frozen spinach, you can use frozen spinach, but the best way to do it is to put it in the refrigerator overnight so it thaws, and then you can squeeze all the water out of it so you don't get your pasta all watery. I'm also going to add my remaining 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese and a little drizzle of olive oil so my pasta doesn't stick together. And I'm just going to mix everything together. If I use 2 forks to toss it, it works pretty well. And then once my spinach starts to get a little bit wilted, it'll start turning darker green and get kind of flimsier. It won't be quite as crisp. Then I can stir in my cheese and egg mixture. And I'm just going to use my forks to mix that together really well. And hopefully my cheese will melt in here a little bit, and that's also going to help my pasta stick together in the nests. So once everything looks like it's mixed together, I want to make sure to get everything out of the bottom, and my spinach is wilted. I can start putting it into my muffin tin. So I'm going to take a fork of spaghetti with the spinach. And I'm going to start twirling it. Actually, if I take a spoon, this will probably help me. So I'm going to get a large spoon, and I'm going to catch some of the spaghetti on my fork. And then I'm going to put it on the spoon and twirl it around. And I don't need a lot of spaghetti. And then I'm going to transfer it into the muffin pan and make a little hole in the center. And then after I bake this, I can put my eggs in there. So I'm just going to do that with all my holes of my muffin tin. And the first one will probably be the hardest, and then after you do a couple, you'll get the hang of it. So I'm just going to kind of spread that out so it looks like a little nest shape with an indent in the middle. And if you don't like spinach, you can leave the spinach out. It just adds a little bit of extra color and flavor, but it's unnecessary if you're not a spinach person. Okay, so I have the perfect amount of pasta to fill 12 muffin tins. And I have a little indent in each one. Now I'm going to bake these, and when they come out, I'm going to add my egg with the little balls of mozzarella. If you are a meat eater, which I am not, you could make little meatballs and put those in there for your eggs. They won't look as much like eggs, but you might enjoy it. I'm just going to bake these in my 375 oven for about 15 minutes, and then I'm going to take them out and finish it off. Okay, so my nests have been cooking. They actually took about 20 minutes instead of 15, but my oven takes a little bit longer than most. When they start to get a little bit crispy around the edges, then that's when you know they're just about finished. So just check them after 15 minutes, and if they need a little bit of extra time, then you can give them a little bit of extra time. So I'm going to let these cool down for about 10 minutes. While I wait for them to cool down, I'm going to heat up my sauce. So you can microwave it, or you can just heat it up in a pan on the stove. If you microwave it, make sure to put something over it so it doesn't splatter all over your microwave. So I'm just gonna slowly heat this up over low heat. Okay, so these have cooled down a little bit. My sauce is warm, so I'm just gonna serve these up. So I'm gonna just put a little bit of sauce on my plate. And if I have some extra spinach, I can put a couple spinach leaves on there. And then if I sprayed my pan well enough, I should just be able to gently catch the side with a fork and loosen this up. And then I'll just transfer it to my plate. I'll put it right on top of the sauce there for a nice presentation. And then I can put a little sauce inside, and my eggs. So if you don't like dairy, you could use some small cherry tomatoes. I thought these white mozzarella balls looked the most like eggs, but you can be creative with this. If you don't eat cheese, or if you don't eat pasta, you could try using spaghetti squash too. But here's my cute little egg nest with my spaghetti nest and mozzarella eggs. You can use any kind of sauce that you like. So I hope you like this video, and happy nest making.